I was told once before that your instrument rating will be the hardest training you go through out of all of the ratings, including commercial. I didn't believe it then until I went through the gauntlet. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. My name is Mike. I am a private pilot and recently instrument rated pilot. And I wanted to talk to y'all about the process. So whether you're an enthusiast right now, you're a private sport pilot, or you're thinking about getting an instrument add-on to your license, my hope is that this video will be helpful because I just received mine and now I'm learning how to properly use it. Because remember, when you go through the training, that's just to get you in the door. The real learning really starts once you've gotten your rating and then you go out into the real world and fly yourself. So why do you get an instrument rating anyway? For me, it was about safety, and it just was about natural progression, right? So whether you're flying for fun or for business, you want to fly safe, and getting an instrument rating is one of those things that you can do to actually keep you safer in the air. Also, there are other benefits. Your insurance rates can be a lot better because you're instrument rated, and also you have a wider window for you when the weather is not so great. So like right now outside, it's nice. Anybody, even my grandma, could get out there and go fly. No, I'm kidding. But the point is, as an instrument rated pilot, you also have a wider net of weather conditions to fly through. Now, getting an instrument rating does not give you the permission to just go out and fly in any type of weather, especially ones that you're not experienced with. But it does give you an opportunity to learn in less dangerous weather. That's how I take it. So just because you have an instrument rating doesn't actually mean you just go out and fly, even if it's storming outside. But those are the benefits. You become a safer pilot, you get to fly in more weather conditions, and also your radio skills actually get better over time as an instrument rated pilot. Now, just not anyone can become instrument rated. You do have requirements, and I'm gonna read them out loud here through my notes so I don't miss anything. If you're thinking about getting your instrument rating, for one, you have to have your pilot certificate already, meaning you have to have a private pilot license. You can't just jump from zero to then get an instrument rating. So have to be certified as a pilot, and then you also have some flying time and cross-country requirements. So you have to have at least 50 hours of PIC cross-country time, and 10 of those hours have to be in an instrument rated aircraft. And then you have to have 40 hours in either actual or simulated instrument condition. Okay, actual means you either get one of your CFIs or another pilot that's instrument rated and you go on a trip with them that you're flying in IMC or instrument condition, or you file IFR. So that's actual. You're flying in actual instrument condition. Compared to simulated, that's self-explanatory. Basically, you're simulating instrument flight conditions, and you're typically on the ground and learning how to fly in this type of condition. You have to have at least 15 hours of flight training with a certified instructor, meaning you have to be trained by CFI at least 15 hours where they simulate a bunch of stuff for you. They teach you how to fly using your instrument. Just like with your private pilot license, you have to complete a cross-country flight where you also need to do 3 approaches, typically to 3 different airports. Now, I believe that cross-country flight has to be a minimum of 250 nautical miles. If you remember, for your private, you had to do a similar type of flight for cross-country, and the same thing for your instrument, except you also have to land at 3 different airports doing approaches. So that is all the requirements you need to get instrument rated. Now, how do you even get started? Okay, we've established that you have to be a pilot already. This is what I did. So the first thing I did was I wanted to knock out the knowledge part. As a matter of fact, I actually recruited the CFI, the person that would potentially teach me, and this was their first advice. They said, before we even get to flying, I want you to go knock out the ground, get the knowledge part out of the way, and that way we can just fly. So I did. I dedicated time to study, and I got this program called Shepherd's Air. Guys, Shepherd's Air did not sponsor this video. It's just a great resource for anyone who's learning or who's training to get instrument rated. It's an application where you have a bunch of test questions and answers, and just it helps your brain get used to the type of things that you're going to be seeing or that they're going to ask in the actual written exam. So to study for your written, make sure you get Shepherd's Air. Like I said, they didn't sponsor this video. It's just a tool that worked out great for me. And I remember the day that I went to take my written exam, I walked in there and saw, I'm like, when I was done, I was like, wait, that's it? That was it. And I did pretty well on my with my test scores. So I think that's a great resource to start on your ground and then also study for your written. And then you also want to get feedback from your instructor, right? Especially if you have an instructor that's also a friend. In my case, you know, things that I didn't understand either using the software from Shepherd's Air or just studying generally, I would just call up my friend or my instructor and we will schedule a time for us to get together and actually get it explained to me. And also YouTube is a great resource and there's a lot of great educational stuff that you can actually pick up from YouTube. The only part of that I would say is make sure you take it with a grain of salt because you don't want to take everything on YouTube as fact. Make sure you fact check it before you move forward with it. But I do think YouTube is a great resource. Just like you're watching this video, there's a ton of other pilots out there who will teach you things. Because I remember some of the things that I had a hard time with. I just went on YouTube, searched it, and I found a pilot who was able to explain it to me in a 3-year-old term, if that makes any sense. Now, once you've knocked out the ground and written exam, then you want to get together with your CFI. Now, if you have access to an aircraft or you own your own airplane, this whole thing is going to be a lot more flexible compared to if you went to a flight school. Logistically, you're not dealing with too many things. The only thing you really have to worry about is your time and the time of your instructor. The plane, you don't have to worry about the plane being available or not because again, you own it or you have access to it. So I think this whole process can go much faster if you have access to an airplane compared to going to a flight school. So get your CFI, schedule time. And what I strongly advise is to do similar to what I did, which was more of an accelerated program. The reason I say that is when you're working full time or you have a business that you run, time commitment to training in general is extremely important. If you come in, say once a week or once every 2 weeks, it's gonna drag. I promise you that it's gonna drag. But if you go through an accelerated program like the one we offer at Lookup Flight Academy, you can knock this out literally in 30 days. In all, for me, it took me altogether 9 months to finish, right? From starting to finish line. But my actual training was no more than 30 days. What I did was I went for 1 or 2 weeks the first time, knocked a bunch of things out, and then life happened. And I didn't go back for another couple of months. And then the second time I went back, I just knocked it out within 20 days. So that's how it would work if you go through an accelerated program as compared to if you're just trying to take it, bit by bit. And I understand, like I said, life happens and things like that. But if you're able to afford the time commitment and just commit a good 30 days to your training, you will knock this out, before you know it. Now, once you get into the flight training portion, the way my journey went was day one, we just started playing with the equipment that we have on board. So in my plane, I have a VFR/IFR equipped airplane. And the main IFR equipment in my plane is the GTN 650. Now, normally when I fly cross country and I'm flying VFR, I would try to use my GTN, but for the most part, I'm really using my primary display and my hands and knobs are on the G3X Touch, which I know in and out compared to the GTN 650. Now, fast forward to when my training started, day one, my instructor wanted me to know exactly how to operate the GTN 650. He wanted me to get used to it, and he wanted my brain and my eyesight to always look at that as compared to just looking at my big 10-inch G3X Touch. So that's one thing that I think helped me down the line, is that from day one, I started learning how to use my actual equipment on board. And then we went on to learn maneuvers. We learned hold patterns. We learned steep turns again. The steep turns and just basic maneuvers are some of the things that you're going to go through in every phase of ratings or flight journey that you have. Through your sport pilot license, private pilot, and instrument, you're gonna do those things. And then also with instrument, consider instrument training as more precision training, right? So there's less room for error. So for example, during your private, you might have had a leeway of say 100 or 150 points, meaning if they tell you to climb to a specific altitude, say 4,000 feet, and they tell you to maintain that, you may drop 100 or 200 with a private pilot license. But with instrument, it's about being precise. Staying within, I believe, 50 is the envelope that you have with instrument training. Now, in my case, that took a while because, again, I'm used to just being free flying VFR. But during my training for instrument, my instructor really kind of pulled my ears to stay within the altitude. Also, stay within your heading. I can't tell you how many times that was just preached to me. Like, hey, stay with the heading. Even if they tell you to deviate, if they tell you, or if your instructor tells you to do one thing or the other, maybe you did steep turns or did any type of maneuver, make sure you stay back within your heading. If they tell you to go to a particular heading, turn your knob, go to that heading, and try to maintain, literally, your room for error should be as little as possible. So that's another thing I picked up during my training. Easier said than done. And also, obviously, depends on the aircraft that you're flying, what the weather is doing. We had a lot of like bumpy days just flying, and those can be distracting, but it does help you stay more precise. The next thing I would advise is if you have access to a flight simulator during your training, please use it. Because that was one thing that happened to me. That long period where I didn't do anything regarding to my rating, I needed to stay sharp with the skills that I learned. So I try to set up a flight simulator at home. I actually made a video on that. So for those of you who are looking to get on this journey, if you're able to set up a flight simulator at home, that would work out great. You've got Microsoft now that has just amazing graphics in very real life situations, and you can even get live ATC in a flight simulator. So I would leave that. I'm gonna leave the video up here so you can check out my setup, what I did. And so whenever you have time off from your training, you can actually have fun at home and just keep your skills sharp. So that way, when you get back into the real airplane, things are not foreign to you. And the last portion of my training really were just practicing approaches, briefing the approach, practicing it. We went to different airports and we repeated the same thing and same thing. Repetition is the king of mastering something. Okay, so towards the end there for me, we just repeated approaches. I repeated how to brief them, repeated, how to talk to air traffic control when you depart, from a particular airport and all those things. And also just learning your destination airport. As a VFR pilot, if you fly, cross country all the time, this is probably a skill that you already have. But with instrument flying, it's even more important to know as much details about your destination airport than it is for VFR, because when you're coming in marginal condition or an IMC and the runway, something is up with the runway, or you don't know much about that airport, or the runway is not fitting with your type of aircraft, then that could be a life and death situation. So my instructor stressed the importance of knowing as much as you can about your destination airport, especially if you're coming in with reference to instrument, or you're doing an approach into an airport. You want to know what's working, what's not working, what's available and what's not available, how long the runway is, all that good stuff. You want to know that. And once you get good and your CFI sees you fit to take the check ride, all they gotta do is reach out to the DPE. You pay a fee for your check ride and they schedule a check ride for you. Now, my rule of thumb is when you're preparing for your check ride, obviously you can fly more, practice things more. But when you're close, a day or two, probably should not do anything. Don't do too much. Now, if you have something specific that's just like you got to get right, maybe practice that. But I tend to just stay off of everything a day before a check ride because, your nerves can get to you. I would say the things that gave me the most headache during my training were holding procedures. For the love of God, I've had a hard time with that. So I would strongly advise for those of you who are behind or coming in to learn your instrument rating, practice, holding patterns and procedures. It's very important. For whatever reason, just my learning curve, it was a challenge for me. So that gave me a hard time. Also, just learning how to properly use the GTN 650, that took some time also. For anyone, again, who's trying to do this, I would stress the importance of those two. Know your holding procedures, not just knowing it in terms of practice, but understand it. Having a good understanding of what it is, why it's there, why you use it, is very important. And then also the timing, because when you're in a holding procedure, you also have to time yourself, all that good stuff you're gonna learn with your instrument training. So I had challenges with that. And then also, again, working my GTN 650, something so simple can get you dinged in your check ride when it comes to your equipment. Because remember, your DPE needs to know that, okay, you actually know how to use these things before they can sign you off. Because guess what? When you're by yourself in the real world, instrument conditions means you're dependent on those instruments. And if you don't know how to use it, then you can get yourself in trouble. Ultimately, I felt really good getting certified and getting my instrument rating. And my hope is that, for those of you who are looking to either become a pilot or you're already on your journey, that you also add on this rating, because it does keep you safe in the skies. And also it gets you to the next step. Like if you wanted to become a commercial pilot, which brings me in to our flight school plug. If you are looking to either get your license as a private pilot or you want to go all the way to the airlines, make sure you check us out at lookupflightacademy.com. We can get you from zero to private to instrument to commercial, all within a year. It's all accelerated. So you're in school and you're training almost every single day. If you're interested in that, make sure you give us a call or just use the link in the description below and somebody is going to reach out to you. Okay, I'm going to end it here. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions about anything talked about in this video, leave in the comments below and I will catch you on the next video. Peace.